So there's the Mini Cooper, a car that's a whole lot of fun. But how do you make it even more fun? Well, you can cut the top off and make it a convertible. That's what we have here. The Mini Cooper convertible adds top-down fun. It adds some joy, but it also adds some frustrations. The Mini has a really well-done convertible top. If you just want a little bit of air, there's the sunroof mode. Or if you want it all the way open, you can open it all the way, just with a touch of a button. Like other Minis, the Cooper convertible, it's a lot of fun to drive. We tested a Cooper S with a turbocharged engine. This engine makes plenty of power, there isn't much turbo lag, and it gets really good fuel economy. We tested it with a manual transmission. It has short, quick shifts. No matter what engine you get, turbocharged or not. Another thing that makes the Mini so much fun to drive is its handling. This car basically defines agility. Steering response, it's instantaneous. There's next to no body roll. The car has standard stability control too, which helps it out in emergency situations. Braking performance is excellent. Also, like other Minis, well, the convertible doesn't ride all that well. The ride is kind of stiff and choppy. At least for having the top cut off, there isn't that much cowl shake in the convertible. It's fairly solid. Where the convertible is worse than the hardtop, though, is in noise. Now, there are some fabric soft tops out there that do a pretty good job of insulating from noise. This really isn't one of them. It's fairly thin, doesn't have a full headliner, quite a bit of road noise, and some engine noise comes through. Another place where the convertible makes some concessions is in visibility. Now, like the hatchback, there's okay side glass area, but the windshield header, it's fairly low. But as you work towards the back, the fabric top creates some thick pillars to the side. Those create blind spots, and the view out the back window, while the roll hoop and the rear head restraints, they take up quite a bit of that window area. Now, the Mini convertible does have a back seat. If you're considering something like a Mazda Miata, it makes this a little bit more practical, but just a bit. You see the Mini's back seat, well, there isn't that much of it. It's really hard to get in when the top's up, and really it's best just for kids, or maybe a briefcase. But even using the back seat for packages is frustrated when you have this wind blocker in place. Now, this does a good job at keeping the interior draft free. It keeps it from being cold when the top's down, but when it's in place, it makes it hard to even put things on the back seats. You can fold it up and stash it in the trunk. When you do get back to the trunk, folding this gate down, well, it doesn't give you that big of an opening, but the Mini has a trick up its sleeve. You pull two latches, and then the back of the top lifts up. That gives you a larger opening to fit items into here. Also, the rear seats fold down, so you can fit larger items into what is otherwise a pretty small trunk. Beyond the convertible specific details, well, the interior of the Mini is much like the interior of other Minis. It combines the whimsical with the frustrating. On the plus side, there's plenty of room in the front, even for tall people. There's also a lot of detailing in the Mini's interior. There's these retro-style toggle switches. There's the checkerboard patterned plastic inserts on the dashboard. There's nicely grained plastics. It's obvious that this is a premium small car. And then there are the frustrations. The controls are something of a mess. There's a giant speedometer, but it's out of your line of sight. It's not that easy to read. The radio, the volume knob's down here, but you always tend to grab this knob, and that knob's not a tuning knob. It goes through complicated menus. The climate controls, they're low on the dash. They're hard to figure out. The tachometer, it's here on the steering column. The steering wheel, well, that pretty effectively blocks that. And then there's an analog gauge that keeps track of how often you have the top open. So let's face it, other than great fuel economy, a Mini Cooper convertible isn't the most practical car you can buy. But what it is something distinctive that's a lot of fun to drive.